I really like the variety because there's a lot of different parts of our region, and particularly in disaster space, I like that we're there for the community in kind of some of their worst times. We're able to assist. My role basically oversees and works with other emergency service agencies in town to assist the community in preparedness and then response and recovery following disaster events. I really enjoy working and living in Gladstone. We have great facilities here. People are really friendly. Council's a really good organisation to work for. Everyone's really committed to the community. I mean, we're all residents. We want to see what's best for the community happening. I do quite a few sports in town, so use a lot of our sporting facilities, as well as involved in the community theatre space. So getting to use the GECC, which we're really lucky to have. I do the community musicals, so we've done, I've been involved in Anything Goes, Legally Blonde, Carrie, and then also do foster caring through GPAWS, which is one of the animal rescue groups. Emma Catlin, Disaster Response Specialist for Gladstone Regional Council.
Sign up to Council's disaster and weather event warning system. Receive alerts about emergency news, severe weather events and other public safety alerts via SMS or email. Registering to the disaster messaging system is free. To register, visit Gladstone Regional Council's Region Watch website and click on the Register for Warnings button. Get ready, Gladstone. Take the steps to protect what's most important to you. Let's be better prepared and protected for emergencies and disasters.
Gladstone Regional Council are committed to fostering a proud, involved and engaged community. The Gladstone Regional Council Community Investment Program provides financial support to local community initiatives, projects and events which promote community connections, regional enhancements, community celebrations and community education. For more information on the Community Investment Program, visit gladstone.qld.gov.au. Gladstone Regional Council. Connect, innovate, diversify.
I really like the variety because there's a lot of different parts of our region, and particularly in disaster space, I like that we're there for the community in kind of some of their worst times. We're able to assist. My role basically oversees and works with other emergency service agencies in town to assist the community in preparedness and then response and recovery following disaster events. I really enjoy working and living in Gladstone. We have great facilities here. People are really friendly. Council's a really good organisation to work for. Everyone's really committed to the community. I mean, we're all residents. We want to see what's best for the community happening. I do quite a few sports in town, so use a lot of our sporting facilities, as well as involved in the community theatre space. So getting to use the GECC, which we're really lucky to have. I do the community musicals, so we've done, I've been involved in Anything Goes, Legally Blonde, Carrie, and then also do foster caring through GPAWS, which is one of the animal rescue groups. Emma Catlin, Disaster Response Specialist for Gladstone Regional Council.
Well, good morning. The time being 9 a.m. in Queensland. I declare open the general meeting for the Gladstone Regional Council for Tuesday, the 4th of February 2025. Obviously, I'm on Teams in Canberra, meeting with a number of ministers today, and a number of reasons, obviously, with my National Australia hat on, but also with our Gladstone Regional Council federal election priorities as well. So a lot of meetings happening today. So we'll go to the first item on the agenda, councillors, and that is apologies. And I don't believe we have any apologies. Looks like all are present. So I'll now move to messages of condolence. And Councillor Goodluck, I believe you have a message of condolence.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. And I would like to convey the thoughts and well wishes of the Gladstone Regional Council and our community to the friends and family of Brian Edward Weston, or affectionately known as Bones. Bones passed away peacefully surrounded by his loving family on Sunday, the 19th of January, 2025, aged 86 years old. He leaves behind his adored wife, Shirley. He was the dearly loved father and father-in-law of Linda and Michael, Rhonda and Dennis, loving granddad, of Brad, Sheridan and Jordan, and much loved great-granddad of Eli, Sadie and Chelsea, loved brother and uncle, and a great mate of many. Brian, or Bones, moved to Gladstone when he was 11 years old. He spent many, many years working at QAL, and Bones and Don Robbo and Alan, a number of other gentlemen, and I would catch up on a monthly basis, have a coffee up there at the coffee club or down at Spinnaker Park, and he was always very passionate about community issues and what council was doing. And I'd just like to, as I said, convey our thoughts to Bones' family, and I'll miss our catch-ups, mate. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Goodluck. Is there any further messages of condolence? No further messages of condolence. Do we have any prior notifications of conflicts of interest, Tanya?
No private notifications, Mayor.
Thank you, councillors. I'll move into the next item on the agenda, which is the Mayor's statement. I want to start by thanking the federal government for the $2 billion investment in the aluminium industry in Australia. And obviously that means a lot for Gladstone and Gladstone region because of our aluminium and alumina industry. Senator Murray Watt and Senator Tim Ayres were in Gladstone recently, and I met with them on site at Boyne Smelter, which is obviously fantastic news for Rio Tinto's largest asset base anywhere in the world for this $2 billion investment in our aluminium industry. We're very happy for that. Of course, on the 25th of January, the night before Australia Day, as we always do, we host our Australia Day Awards and our citizenship ceremony. And I'd like to welcome all our new Australian citizens, but particularly acknowledge our Citizen of the Year, Alison Kelly, our Young Citizen of the Year, Benjamin Campbell, our Sport and Recreation Award winners, Gary Porteous and Miles Serup. A Young Sport and Rec Award winner was Tom Crawshaw. Our Arts and Culture Award winner is Paulette Flint. Our community event of the year was the 1 metre World Championships organised by the Gladstone Radio Controlled Yacht Club. The Mayor's Community Champion Award went to Gran Cooper, and the Young Community Champion went to Isabel Asplet. And of course, our Volunteer of the Year was to Fred Bruce, an absolute champion in our community for many years. Congratulations to all of our Australia Day Award winners, and of course to the 46 new Australian citizens representing from 15 different countries, making the Gladstone region their home. I would also like to mention some upcoming events. We have, of course, the Dolphins NRL playing in Gladstone this weekend at Marley Brown Oval versus CQ Capras. Miriam Vale Community Forum is happening on the 12th of February, and the Baffle Creek Community Forum is happening on the 1st of March. And our big event, of course, is the Agnes Blues Roots and Rock Festival coming up on the weekend of the 21st of February. And it would also be remiss of me not to mention some of the media that was mentioned yesterday about our CQH2 project in Gladstone. I want to make it very clear that the CQH2 project still enjoys 3 levels of government support: local, state and federal, for those watching online. And to our international partners in Iwatani and Maribini and Keppel, we want to let them know that the Gladstone region absolutely welcomes their investment and their involvement, of course, in the consortium, which includes Stanmore in the CQH2 project. There's $1.4 billion on the table of federal government funding. And while the state government might be not yet investing additional funds, they have already invested $15 million into this project. So for anyone to suggest that the project is dead in the water, they're kidding themselves. And anyone who wants to be dancing and celebrating in the street the loss of 3,100 construction jobs and 1,000 jobs in operation in Gladstone needs to really have a good look at themselves. This is a fantastic project for our community, Queensland and Australia, and I'm glad to see it is still continuing. That's it for the Mayor's statement. I'll now hand over to the Deputy Mayor to chair the rest of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, we'll move on to the next item in the agenda, which is the officers' reports. So can I please... oh, sorry, we got to move the minutes. Sorry. Confirmation of the minutes. Can I... Councillor Churchill will move the minutes of the last meeting. We have a seconder and Councillor Patrick. Everybody in favour of this? Thank you very much. It's carried. Now we can definitely move on to the officers' reports. Thank you. And first report is G 4.1, Phillip Street Community and Families Precinct Advisory Committee Annual Report for 2024. And welcome Kylie and Jacqueline.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Good morning, councillors. I've got Jacqueline Iwasaka here. She's our council's community development specialist, but also the, I was going to say company secretariat, the committee secretariat for the Phillip Street Advisory Committee. Today we're tabling the annual report for the Phillip Street Communities and Families Precinct Advisory Committee. The committee is a group of passionate community members that represent different sectors from the community. They're charged with understanding the community voice and bringing that voice back into the committee that helps shape our programs and our service delivery. There were 6 meetings during 2024 with the key focus areas including precinct advocating, providing recommendations for improvement, gathering feedback from precinct users, ensuring alignment with community trends and emerging needs, and strategic placemaking. Our community events at the precinct remained aligned with the precinct's values of wellbeing, learning and connection. And we had events such as the Gladstone Health Expo, CQ Health Sport and Recreation Expo, the Disability Forum and 16 Days of Activism. They were all held at the precinct. There are a number of other events that were held at the precinct, which I invite you to have a look at in the report, which is available for the community to have a look through. Occupancy remains high at the Maxine Bruce Community Meeting Place at a rate of about 50%. However, this is across a span of hours between 8 a.m. and 10 p.m. More importantly, every month we have between 45 and 55 community groups hiring our meeting rooms, which is pretty phenomenal. There are also 15 consult rooms across the precinct, all with high occupancy. The Gumar building, which is the Salvation Army building, has 8 consult rooms with an occupancy of 76%. The Nutchie building, which is our Communities for Children building, is hired per hour, but has an occupancy of about 48%, which is still high. It's just hired by the hour, so it's a little bit of a funny percentage. And the Naleel building, which is Council's building, which has 3 consult rooms operating at 95% capacity. Collaboration continues to be the key to success for the Phillip Street Precinct, demonstrating how bringing together multiple stakeholders with a shared vision can provide positive, long-lasting change. I would like to acknowledge our volunteer committee members. They are volunteers. They work with our community to understand their needs and provide us guidance to the programs and the services. And I'd also like to acknowledge former councillor Desley O'Grady, who following her council representative role as a councillor on the committee, volunteered to be the community voice for the senior community. Desley has resigned this week from her role to allow her to commit time and energy to her new role, restoring the Many Peaks Hotel. So we'd like to thank former councillor O'Grady for everything that she's done for the Phillip Street Precinct. Councillor Patrick and Councillor Holzheimer are council's representatives on the Phillip Street Advisory Committee. I'd like to hand over if you would like to say anything before we ask for any questions. Councillor Patrick, yeah?
I just would like to acknowledge the committee as well and thank you very much for the report. I think it is incredible to have watched this precinct go from 15 years ago to where it is today. It's been a long journey, and I think the data that we have being presented today is a reflection of, in just 3 years, how much it was needed. And knowing that there is inquiries and it is being seen as such a user-friendly space that many more community organisations are wanting to hold events, their meetings, etc. It is amazing for our community. It really is becoming a very much cornerstone support area for our community. I suppose when we do big projects like this, you're not expecting the capacity to probably fill up as quickly as what it has in just 3 years. So I probably would draw everyone's attention that this is a very much used facility. As I said, it's becoming such a cornerstone for our community that we should start to look to the future of what will happen for stage B. Is that correct? So, yeah, I suppose that's probably the commentary that I have. I just know that the space is very well used. You just have to go there on Dory Day and it's fantastic. It is really fantastic, and our region has led many other regional councils and areas in the forefront of that, and that is a true legacy project, which we should be so significantly proud of.
Thank you, Councillor Patrick. Councillor Holzheimer, would you like to add anything? Have you finished with your report, or would I offer or put it out to questions or comments?
Yes, thank you, Councillor Muscat. That was the next part, was I invite any questions from councillors or any feedback. Thank you.
Or Jacqueline, would you like to add anything too? Yeah, Councillor, do you mind if we go to Councillor Churchill first? Yep, thank you.
Oh, yeah, thanks very much for that. Yeah, interesting reading, and do appreciate that. I'm just making reference to your first paragraph in your in the advisory report. Is that where we're going? Or you're finished presenting? Okay, great. So just in the first part of your report, you make reference to understanding the feedback from the community, thinking that it's a, be it a retirement village or aged care centre or whatever. So I suppose that leads to my question strategically, trying to understand now with the proposed over 50s retirement living facility on the opposite side of the precinct, will the Phillip Street Precinct Advisory Committee play some collaborative or strategic role in the facility across the road when it's developed? Or does that become another precinct and stand separate, maybe through to you, Madam CEO, or stand separate from the Phillip Street Advisory Committee? Because later on in your report, rightfully, and I'll just make reference to it if you just bear with me for a second, you do make reference to about planning for the future and the collaborative hub that it will become. We sit here and we're trying to understand what this will look in 20 years, 30 years' time. But creating an environment where people will come, they'll spend time, they'll live, and you're planning for the future to make sure that it's fully inclusive as a precinct. Bit long-winded, but is there synergies between the facility now and the future development with the over 50s?
It's a really great question. Thank you, Councillor Churchill. So on our advisory committee, we do have two specific roles that look at our over 55s community and how their voice can be to be garnered and then brought into what our service delivery looks like. And that service delivery might be health and wellbeing classes. It might be connecting them to U3A. It could be connecting them to relevant services to our shy groups, those type of things. So it's really inviting them to be part of the precinct. I know in the original vision there was to be a childcare facility there and ability to have adopt-a-grandparent programs and things like that. We also have the bones of a Friends of Phillip Street program, which would be very appropriate for our people that are living in the over 55s community to be participating in to garner that ongoing connection and well-being that we have as values for the Phillip Street precinct. Does that answer your question?
To a degree.
To a degree.
Yeah. I suppose it leads to the development, the proposed development across the road. Does that become another precinct?
No.
Or will it become all-inclusive relating to the Phillip Street precinct?
So it'll be a separate precinct, but the people that live there will be our stakeholders. So we'll be wanting to speak to them to make sure that the programs and services that we're running out of Phillip Street are still appropriate for that group.
Complementary?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Churchill. Councillor Patrick?
Thank you. Just a quick question. I alluded to in my feedback with the boardroom about the growing capacity of Phillip Street. Are there things that you can highlight to the boardroom where we can, which have been suggested by the community and by the committee, on how we could improve with the current buildings? Are there things that we can do that we can look at as a board to look and enhance and continue to increase participation at Phillip Street?
Certainly. I'll do a co-chairing one here. Jacqueline obviously is on the ground in our Phillip Street precinct, but certainly there are improvement opportunities that we have to encourage more event hire of our Maxine Bruce community meeting place. Little things like acoustics, there's a lot of bounce off, and making it more of a smarter meeting space with added technology. So those things definitely could enhance our current footprint. Jack, would you like to take some more of this question?
Yeah, so I guess improvement is very continuous. So the advisory committee makes suggestions or recommendations based on the feedback they've heard. And I think we included in the report examples like we received feedback about after hours users not being able to easily collect the keys. So we installed lock boxes. As Kylie mentioned, we're looking at the acoustics within the Maxine Bruce because we've received a lot of feedback that especially for our persons with a disability or sensory issues, that the acoustics in the room are quite challenging. So we're constantly looking for these small upgrades based on feedback that we're getting from the community.
Thank you. And can I just ask one more question? And for if people are wanting to use the facility, how are we streamlining that?
Councillor Patrick, are you specifically talking about the booking process? Yeah, okay. You're happy to answer that one?
So the current booking process is all runs through Council's venue hire team. So a user group or someone who wants to use the precinct can submit an expression of interest to venue hire, and if the precinct is available at that time, they can process the booking for them.
Sorry, I'll just add to that as well. We are looking at other technology solutions to streamline the booking process as well. So yeah, good question. There will be a better booking process for the community in the near future. Yeah, thank you for the question.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you. We have Councillor McClintock.
Thank you. My question was very similar to actually Councillor Patrick's, which was just in regards to not discussing Plan Bs and Part Bs and other precincts, but for the precinct that is and what it is, as a committee, could you give us maybe a little bit of insight as to where you see it in 10 years' time, or what you would like to see it progress towards? Is there any great visions or ideas, I guess, for that space on how it could be better utilised, and anything that we can do strategically now to help that happen?
Yeah, certainly. So I think from our perspective, the current footprint has, I guess, grown quite quickly. We've seen a really positive result at that precinct. So I guess our immediate strategic view is to continue to get the collaborative services, the allied services, into the precinct. We were working really hard with a few other community groups within the Gladstone footprint to ensure that it was that collective space to be able to get the support that you required to have being healthy and well. So that to be getting those additional services is probably one of the key areas. Going forward, we have an opportunity to attract more services, but the footprint would need to expand.
I was going to say, because your room hire, we had a tour through there not so long ago, and the room hire is pretty well at capacity in those buildings. Yeah, and so looking for more spaces is basically the next step in that process. Cool. Thank you.
That's okay.
I'd like to move that the council receive the Phillip Street Communities and Families Precinct Advisory Committee Annual Report for 2024.
Thank you, Councillor
That's a
McClintock.
long
Do I have
title.
a second though? Councillor Davis. Is there any other questions before? Yeah, Councillor Davis.
Thank you. I just, in your report there, I noticed that, we've still got a bit of negativity about the facility. What are we doing to try and, counteract that and let people know, what's there? Are we having open days, or have we had them in the past?
We have had open days in the past, and I think with the committee supporting those really big strategic events at our precinct really does give people an opportunity to come down and see it. I welcome anybody that wants to come down and do a tour of the precinct. I think once you lay eyes on it, you really get an idea of what it actually does. There is a communications action plan also associated with the precinct, so we are regularly marketing, and we do little things like putting banners on the highway to advise that, this is the home to the Salvation Army, to the Gladstone Area Promotion Development Limited, Communities for Children's program, our neighbourhood centre and council. So we are giving as much as we can around that as well. But absolutely, anybody that doesn't understand what the precinct does, please invite them down. Our team would be more than happy to take them around the precinct. We do have regular open days as well, where we have our service providers really showcasing what we do at the precinct. So, yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions? Mayor, anything you'd like to add? No? Okay, well, we have a mover on.
Just to say, endorse the report. I think it's fantastic, and also what Councillor Patrick said. I think we need to be starting to look at stages 3, 4 and 5.
Great. So I have a mover on Councillor McClintock, seconder Councillor Davis. We all in favour? Anyone against? No. Thank you very much. And we will move on to the next officer's report, which I think is the only one left. And it's 4.2, 2024-25 Operational Plan Quarter 2 Performance Report. And welcome Carly Quinn, General Manager, People and Strategy.
Thank you. Good morning, councillors. Well, it's that time again, quarterly reports. So this is our council's performance report for yourselves and for our community for the last quarter of last year, so covering October through to December. The report's organised as per usual in 3 main ways. We have our report on our operational plan initiatives. Those are the priority strategic initiatives that we commit to the community to deliver over the 12 months, as well as a number of stories. I think we've got about just over 80 stories in there highlighting our services. So that's all about how we're improving our services and how we're delivering our services to the community. And there are also some data-driven insights throughout the report as well. There's a few key, just probably 3 key highlight stories that I would love to share that are probably great examples of a lot of the work that went across our business in the last quarter. So the first is our community forums were introduced, and we saw 137 people attending over 8 events that were held right across the region. Our new asset register was launched. That's a really exciting opportunity for us. We launched it on time and on budget on the 17th of December last year. It's a foundation piece that we really need to make better informed decisions on how we upgrade, how we maintain and how we replace our assets through having more detailed data for you to make accurate decisions. It's very exciting. It's the culmination of the last 2 years of a lot of work across the business, migrating over 300,000 assets and 7 million records into one source of truth. And I'd particularly like to support Council for your foresight and your support in this project. It's been a long-term project and it has required your support at both budget time and operationally as well, so we really do appreciate that. Finally, our apprentice and trainee program was the other one that I wanted to highlight. So we have a total of 38 apprentices and trainees in our business, and we have a really good record of retaining our trainees or them retaining employment or attaining employment somewhere else. So currently we've seen 12 of our apprentices and trainees complete their certificates this year, with 7 of them offered permanent roles already in council and another 5 of them completing by March this year. There's also some funding highlights in there. $12.6 million in state federal grants secured, with 16 applications still pending, worth a total of $23 million still pending. Lastly, I do just want to bring to your attention, you may have picked it up yourself, there is a typo on page 12. In the section under streets and footpaths, it says see page 7, it says see page 13. It should be see page 17. We have updated and fixed that on the publication that will go live after today's meeting. Thank you. Any questions?
Councillor Wagner?
Yeah, good morning, and thank you very much for that, Carly. Just a couple of questions, if that's okay. Just really keen, I mean, there looks like some real positives that have come out of this, which is great. I noticed the future of fleet, while it's on track, was there a delay with that? Because it did say, I think it was second quarter?
Yeah, so there's overall over that project, there's been 2 points where that project has been delayed. The one you're aware of from last year, which has extended it over to this year, was that we decided to do more detailed consultation with our people to ensure that we were getting the data standards right and making sure that people understood how we were going to be using it. The second delay that we've just experienced, which is now back on track, was a resourcing delay. So that has now been rectified and the project is well on track to be delivered by the 30th of June as promised.
And with that review, is that just GPS or is there other things involved in that, like tracking or
the review?
The fleet?
So the project itself? Yep. So the project is about introducing telemetry into our vehicles so that we've got that data to be able to make better decisions. But as a result of that, obviously, there's been a lot of work with our people on what data we will track, what we will use it for, and what we won't use it for is probably most important to some of our people. But the purpose of this is about efficiencies in our business and making sure that we have the right vehicles doing the right work at the right time, and that we're investing in our fleet the right way.
No, that's great. Awesome. Good initiative, that one. Also, I'm really keen with our people too. Like, I see the big overarching bits, but I'm just wondering if we can drill down a little bit about embedding a constructive culture. What is that and how does that look like?
Oh wow, how long have we got? This is my favourite topic.
I knew it would be.
So I guess for a number of years now, Council has been on a journey to have a more constructive culture. We've done extensive surveys with our people to tell us what that looks like. So we have a really clear picture of what constructive looks like for our people and how, we didn't ask them what constructive culture looks like. We asked them what kind of world do you want to work in and what kind of environment do you want? And it turns out our people want a constructive culture. So we have a really clear map of what our people would love and where we want to operate. We also have some clear data on where we're currently operating, and we have that across the organisation, and we also have it into business units and teams as well. So we have a really good understanding of where the gaps are, and the ongoing culture work, which will be ongoing forever, I imagine. You never stop working on culture. Will be closing those gaps and continually moving towards that culture that our people ideally aspire for. The good news is in the last measure that we had last year, we have made positive movements in every single one of the measures that we were looking to improve. So that's really good news, but it just means we have to keep going.
Yeah, no, great work, thank you. And also, I see the supporting net zero as well. Can you just, just sort of a broad overview of what that looks like as well?
Yes, I'll just make sure I'm giving you an answer in context. Is that under resilient economy? Was it a story in particular you're asking about?
It was
or
more
the
about
op plan item potentially?
Sorry?
It's the operational
Yeah,
plan
the op
item.
plan
Sorry, I've
item.
just realised. I might ask Mark Francis to come up and give some context. He's the sponsor of that project.
Thanks, Mark.
Morning, councillors. So Toward Net Zero is a 2-year programme which is fully funded, which has allowed us to attract a very talented member of our staff who's internationally recognised for his work in this area. The first year is involved in essentially auditing our energy use and to look for opportunities to reduce that in front of the meter and to help us to establish a forward work plan to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions in line with the state and federal targets. It's a delight to have Dr. Hashim on board. He's a really enthusiastic and talented individual, and we're lucky to have received the funds to have that type of person come and help us on this journey.
And are we seeing, I know that he hasn't been here that long, but are we seeing some real benefits for that? Like, is there feedback coming back that we're already starting to look at how we do things? Or?
Like most of the things we do, what we'll do first is understand and plan, but that plan has identified a number of opportunities and looks like significant opportunities, which isn't just reducing our greenhouse gas emissions, but it's a potential to reduce the cost to the community of running our services and our assets.
Excellent. While we've got you here, I'm not sure who will be doing this. I noticed that we were also looking at how we're responding to maintenance work, and I know that we were looking at reviewing our hierarchy and what have you. Can we get can we get some information on where we're heading with that? Because it has been around for a little bit now.
Certainly. So we made the commitment just towards the end of last year that we'd look at our unsealed road network and look for opportunities to accelerate the sealing of that. We were, again, not lucky, but we were talented enough to request and receive Works for Queensland funding, which is funding that work for us. That'll take place over the second half of this year, and then options that we provided to you as a council through the budget process to accelerate investment in sealing our unsealed network. Yeah,
excellent. And are we going to factor in sort of some of the feedback we've had from residents over the year or requests or the years in that? Because there's consistent themes coming through on that?
Absolutely, yeah, 100%.
Excellent. No, that's great. Thank you. And back over to Carly. We're talking about these plans, and even with this here, we're talking about, we do a lot of planning. I'm just wondering, because I think we did have a bit of fanfare around the launch of our small business plan. We also did around our disability action plan. Can you tell us how often are we reporting on those at the moment? I can't, sorry, it's just eluded me.
So they are slightly different because we do a sort of a hierarchy. Apologies, thank you. They're not all on the same program of review and reporting because there's different hierarchies across the business, but as examples with those ones, the small businesses coming back to, I think there was an informal update provided to councillors late last year, and then quarterly is our economic development update that comes to council, so that's how we'll provide updates to council. That's at an information session, so we can also talk about, if you like, about updates to the community on that. There are a number of ways we can give updates to some of these projects, and they are just via our quarterly reports, so we can ensure if that's a topic that you'd like to see more exposure into these reports, we can do that. Or there are other ways that we could potentially update. We do have regular, just as part of that small business friendly program, there's a strong stakeholder engagement plan that goes alongside that. So we're certainly keeping the relevant business community updated as we go. But if you're looking for something wider, we can certainly accommodate that. And my suggestion would probably be just within this quarterly report, we can ensure that there's updates in there.
That'd be
I'll
great.
let Kylie answer you on the access and inclusion.
Thank you. Councillor, the Access and Inclusion 6-monthly update will come to you next fortnight at next general meeting.
Oh, excellent. Well, that was timely. Thanks very much for that. And that's all my questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Wagner. I have Councillor McClintock next and a couple more after, so yeah.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Few questions sporadically across the place. First one's on page 9. Was just perhaps if you could give a little bit of context, or if there is a story, to the posts across all our social media channels in Q2 is significantly lower. Is that because we're strategically doing something different, or are we moving in a different direction? I'm not sure if this is something you have deep context to. But then my question was kind of that in relation to the conversations platform as well, and whether we're putting our energy into that instead, what that's looked like. I know there's just short of 20,000 views on the conversations platform, but how that's tracking compared to previously, and is that increasing? Is that what that looks like as a picture? A little bit of context.
Thank you, Councillor McClintock. It's a question I was not prepared for, but I'm very happy to get the data for you. Would it be okay if I brought the
That's totally
conversations
okay.
performance to
Yep,
you in a
that'd be
separate
great.
report?
Yep.
No problems.
No problems. Thank you.
you.
Not a drama. Just scrolling to my next one. Love that we repaired 80% more potholes, by the way, just as a little line in there. And the other one was in regards, I don't know if this might be a Kylie question as well. Apologies if it is. But the community involvement initiative, strengthening community involvement on page 14. Just curious, the 9,728 of the 34,000 that's been spent, that budget line item, does that include costings for wage costs and for our experts to be on site and stuff like that after hours, or is that purely advertising and resource costing?
Great question. I'm going to go back to the first question you asked me about the increased views on conversations. It will be attributed to our community forums and the different way that we're engaging with the community on the conversations channel. So you will see an increase on our visitation to that site. So that's the first question. Second question, this budget reflects the advertising, catering, and the marketing and catering for the 6 forums that we've rolled out. We will need to journal the wages back into this amount. So you'll see this budget figure change with the next quarterly update that you see. So.
Okay, great. No, that's all right. I just wasn't sure if that included already. Okay. That's brilliant. Thank you. Sorry, I'll scroll down through. Just another curious one on the page 20 of the maintenance delivery that was already briefly mentioned there before. We've spent just shy of 700,000 of the 2.1 that's allowed for it. What other significant costs are coming up on that? Obviously the data and management system has been put in, but do we anticipate some other big spends coming up soon? Is that on, like it says it's on track, but can you give us a little bit of context for that story on where that's heading?
It's on track. As Carly said, that the asset register is a foundational piece, and now we need to essentially bring it to life. So the large expenditure on the balance of the year will be on what we're referring to as maintenance documentation, which is essentially detailed task lists which will go into our works management system and will allow us to cost to task level and to asset level to give the boardroom a greater insight into how we spend our money and what we spend it on than ever before. But that's a significant piece of work. If you can imagine, every piece of task and label is required for everything that we do to be documented, put into the system and digitised, and then to be made available on a field app in people's hands out in the field, and then tie that back into a financial system. So that's the work. It's very much on track.
Yep, and so that whole costing is really foundationally around that data input on the rest of that costing there.
Yep.
And is that contracted out or something we're doing internally? What's that look like practically?
It's contracted out to a number of different consultants who specialise in this area.
Yeah, a big piece of work. Yeah, can definitely understand that. And just lastly, thank you very much, was somewhere down the bottom here. Nah, already covered. Thank you. Love it. Thank you very much.
Mark, before you go, we normally get updates on the progress of that project. When do you think we'll might be able to get the next one?
On optimising maintenance delivery, I expect that to be coming next month.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's great, thank you. Councillor Churchill?
Yeah, thank you for that. A couple of comments and a couple of questions. Can I just say to you, Carly, and I suppose you pass the message on, that I found the document quite easy to read. It wasn't government speak, which is obviously someone within our communications is doing it. So I'd encourage anybody who hasn't read it to read this second quarter operational plan report, and for those that are listening in, or perhaps any of their networks, because it is quite informative. That was my first compliment. Don't.
Sorry, if you don't mind, I will.
No, you're right.
I will just thank you for that comment and mention we've had some new people in the strategy team who have spent probably some challenging time trying to change this wording to really have that community speak. So I know that that feedback will be very gratefully received. Thank you.
Yeah. No, I was very pleased, and I'm sure my colleagues would be as well. We're very proud to be able to see that, and when they extrapolate that down into some facts, which has already been referred to by Councillor Wagner, Councillor McClintock. I've got a couple of questions. The first one, and perhaps Mark, don't run away when you tag team there, is you did mention the new asset register, and appropriately, I suppose if I'm passing compliments, we should acknowledge the previous elected members that sat around this table, and I won't apologise for the cross-examination and interrogation of General Manager Mark Francis on a regular basis in relation to the progress of the asset register. And as you rightfully made reference, it's a huge amount of work when you consider 7 million records, 300,000 assets, and the list goes on. So I suppose you complimenting the council. I think we need to compliment the work team that have been able to do that over that longer period of time. And I know it's been perhaps a long time coming, and I acknowledge Councillor Hanson, who was a very strong, past Councillor Hanson, ex-Councillor Hanson, who was a very, very strong advocate for getting this in place. So I suppose my question right at this stage is that now that we've arrived, which is quite exciting, what's our plan to ensure that we don't fall back again? What's our sustainability action plan, if that's whatever the terminology might be, to make sure, because as we continue to grow, there'll be more assets, and then there'll be more determination as to what's on, and then from assets, some reach an end of life expiration date and the removal. So what's the plan?
There's lots of plans, and it is exciting because it opens up a world of possibility for us to have discussions with yourself and the community about how we do that in our life cycle planning. So alongside the very technical work which has been getting all the data from our disparate systems into one system to tie into our financial management system, there's been lots of work on process, on understanding how we should articulate performance and condition of our assets and our services, how we should talk about and manage and provide options to yourselves and the community for our life cycle decisions with assets. Optimising maintenance delivery is the big change maker here in terms of making sure our assets are appropriately and well maintained and managed within the confines of the budget and our affordability. We've got a significant piece of work. When I say significant, the impact is significant. The effort, I think, largely has been done. on the books for next year, which is to bring together all this into a service plan, which would come to the boardroom and allow you to make those longer term decisions, understand if a decision on a budget level is made this year, what does that mean for the degradation profile of your asset over the next 10 years? What are the workforce implications? That's the world we're moving to, and it's just around the corner.
Yeah, lovely. No, it's pleasing to hear that, refreshing. And I look forward to that discussion, because at the end of the day, we as a boardroom also need to understand the risk level that we want to take. Absolutely. You know, do you run to end of life and replace, or do we renew and continue to renew, and to what level? Yep. Gold level, silver, bronze level? Anyway, I look forward to that discussion. The other one on the same page, which was an interesting one, and came as a bit of a, not necessarily a shock, but a surprise to me, when we've been able to reduce our procurement timelines from over 8 weeks, I'd love to be able to do this in my own DIY, and I'm sure other people in our community would be, if we can just get a quote from a tradie, you know, to change a washer or fix something, or whatever the case. My wife's been waiting 6 months for new cabinets in the kitchen. But we've been able to reduce our procurement timelines from 8 weeks to 9 business days. That's less than 2 weeks. I mean, I'm not sure whether you want to make a comment on it, or is there a model that you've actually developed? Because when someone tells me they've been able to achieve something like that, I'd be concerned that in 6 months' time we've said, look, our 9 business days just blown out to 10 weeks because the marketplace has moved. So how do we, I mean, my question appropriately is, or my comment, congratulations, well done, that's absolutely fantastic. Tell us what the model is, and I'm sure others would like to know, but now is it sustainable for 9 business days?
Thanks, Councillor. What we have done is, within our procurement corporate standard, is actually just had a look at the thresholds and how we actually make it easier for our teams to get in and to be able to do work quicker. So essentially, it's the same obligations are there. What we are doing though is making sure we're utilising our panel contracts, and those tools that we have available, that we utilise them fully, and we're not probably clogging the system, so to speak, from a bureaucracy perspective. So we're still ensuring that people are getting value for money. So what we have done is essentially, if we've changed the threshold so that people have, you know, essentially, you know, if you're on a panel contract and you're essentially up to about 200,000, as long as you enter into that and you've got the delegation, you can go ahead. If it's over 200,000, then you still need to go through the relevant processes. Still have the same governance in place if we don't have the panel contracts in place. We've still got to go get 3 quotes and the like. But it's making sure we've got those tools that are available for us and utilising them. So sometimes we were finding that we're still requiring people to go through multiple quotes with respect to those panel tenders. So we're still getting, you know, 2 or 3 tender proposals for those smaller pieces. So we have shortened it. There's still going to be some teething works. That's an example of what we've achieved, but it really isn't essentially empowering our people.
So you found a new way to be able to streamline.
It's just streamlined our thresholds, and it's probably just recognising there's...
And by streamlining that threshold...
And we've minimised the risk with that, ensuring that we're utilising those frameworks we've got around
and still being cost effective within our budget.
Yeah, so we're utilising those.
Pretty impressive. Award-winning.
Yeah, I might just add that the new manager, Kiara, really looked at the people, the process and the technology, and I think she's been able to turn all 3 of those. So it's not a simple, you know, it's the thresholds, it's making the processes smoother, which then frees up her team to work with our business on the critical ones that we really should be focusing on. So the lower level ones are unlocked for our people can just do what they need to do. The panels are in place to support that. So I feel like it's been a really multi-layered piece of work that she did with her team over about a 12 to 16 week period.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you. No, that's quite exciting. I've just got a couple more. The next one relates to the rural one. And I'll just find it here. Where Council worked collaboratively with the South Burnett Regional Council to develop our plan in relation to the Department of Primary Industries, roles and responsibilities, etc., etc. I wanted to lead to a question that was more relevant to the feral pig situation that we have. at the moment. I know they're not running up and down Gundoon Street or Auckland Street or whatever, but you'd only have to drive out through the Boyne Valley, and you'd only have to drive a few other places around our region where we do have a huge feral pig problem. And I know South Burnett and our neighbours at Banana have implemented programs. So is there anything under, or maybe a question on notice at this stage, because they mentioned in here the likelihood of the African swine fever virus, which has the potential to decimate our rural industries, our pork industry, and the list goes on, I suppose. So in light of it being viral and contagious, is there a red flag here at this stage? Is there something that we need to be doing? Is there someone, Councillor Wagner's indicating that she's actively involved, perhaps over and above weed killing as well? But I'm wanting to highlight, is there something we need to be doing if our neighbours are doing it? Because feral pigs, they don't know boundaries. And I know I and others have driven out through the Boyne Valley and other areas, and you'd only have to drive out there through an evening and you'd see the whole family and the next family crossing the road. So we do have a plague, in my opinion, and that's based on the farmers telling me.
Before I answer, I feel like, did you want to add to that question, Councillor Wagner?
Sure. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, sorry. As you would be aware, Councillor Holzheimer and I are on the Capricorn Pest Management Group as representatives of council, and unfortunately we've been unsuccessful in securing some funding through that group for the feral pigs, but it is on the agenda for the next meeting to talk about, and I mean we've got representatives from all the councils on that to work collectively to hopefully work with our neighbours. They have tried a couple of things, couple of joint initiatives. Some have been successful and some not so successful. So we'll take that on board too and work hopefully with our officers and see if we can try to get something happening on that.
Never give up.
Absolutely. That like the weeds. Yes, thank you.
So I suppose my question becomes very pertinent to the fact that, you know, when you talk rural local governments, we should not be confined by the basis that we have, you know, a proud Gladstone city and a number of towns. We do have a strong rural sector that needs to be protected. But anyway, thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Melissa. Best wishes. And my last question is on page 31, which is this council's active participation in the various cancer programs, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and then November, which was Movember, and I actively tried to be involved in the Movember one, probably failed a little bit, but in the aftermath, yeah. So it's wonderful to see that this council actively involves, and the growing number of people that are facing life with cancer diagnosis, including people within our own workforce and our own community. So do we have a cancer support group within the Gladstone Regional Council, or do our people who have been and are affected by have any referral or association with the Gladstone Region Cancer Support Group? What's the state of play?
So I'll just step back very quickly firstly. So a lot of those initiatives are designed by our people, so it's people-led, so we understand what is it that our people want to support and what is important to them, and that's through our wellness action team, and that's how we come up with our program of wellbeing initiatives across the year. And so again, I know they will be pleased to hear your comments on it. Cancer is obviously very close to many of our people's hearts. During those particular months, we certainly have a lot of promotion and access to different support groups, but right across the year, we have our employee assistance program, which is available to all employees and their families at any time. And that's a range of things. It's actually not even just mental health. There's financial support and all sorts of support available to our people through there. I can look further into, connections to actual local groups. I'm not sure if we probably generally refer our people to the employee assistance program, where they can they can find out what is available to them and what most meets their needs, as well as during those particular months, we very heavily promote, you know, the Cancer Council and any of those support networks that are available at that time. So you'll see more of that promotion. Sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I am aware, so Sally, our McGrath Foundation nurse here in Gladstone, and they've actually moved just from the breast cancer space to all cancers to support as well, which has been, for me, being a breast cancer survivor, was a great resource and tool to be able to link into. There is some online support groups locally as well. So I think it's called Gladstone Support Sisters. So lots of people are actually fed into that group. I was running a coffee as well, catch up once a month with another lady who passed while we were campaigning. And being a councillor and doing that has kind of meant that I've taken a bit of a step back from that. However, there is some groups of ladies as well who meet, and then we've had some photography sessions as well provided by a local photographer for breast cancer survivors and also their partners and people that have come down from Rockhampton and different areas to get support through that. So Sally, our McGrath Foundation nurse as well, is absolutely phenomenal at resourcing free service as well within the local community. Yeah, and there's some other online groups as well, so that I have access to as well. So yeah.
Yeah, thanks for that. I noticed Carly taking notes, but yeah, no, that's it. Congratulations. That's a terrific report. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Councillor Holzheimer, if you want to keep going, and then we'll have Councillor Davis.
I think I'm going to save my questions for our next council meeting because it's access and inclusion space. So I was keen to explore that a little bit further, but I'm going to wait until next fortnight when we get that report. So I'm not asking things twice.
Thank you. Well, we are, this agenda item is about this report. So thank you very much. Councillor Davis.
Thank you. Just two quick questions, Carly. It's probably maybe Mark Francis that might have to answer my questions. In the environment section there, will we be getting a report further to, I think, Councillor Wagner on Hashim, our new environmental, at some stage before the report's due on the 30th of June? Would it be prudent for him to come and talk to Council and give us some updates? Yep, that's it. And the other one, maybe further to Councillor Churchill's, his pig issue. Pig issue. Yeah. I've noticed around town the minor birds, and there's nothing in our report about the minor birds. I'd be really interested to get an update on how we're tracking with those and what initiatives we've got, and yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to. There you go. Take away.
Thank you for the question. Yeah, we have traps that we hire out for capturing minor birds and the like, so that's an initiative that we have. Our officers are out there trying to promote those as much as we possibly can. They're a bit of a tricky bird to get into the cage, so it's a challenge.
So I know we've got the traps, but are we doing anything as a council ourselves to trap them, or are we just hiring the traps out?
No, just hiring the traps out.
Okay, so do you think there's any initiative that we could do? Because I know they're getting pretty prolific around town.
Yeah, we can certainly take that on board and see if there's some work that we can do in the upcoming 25-26 budget.
Excellent, thank you.
Were you looking for a bird whisperer?
Definitely.
Councillor Wagner?
I'm just curious, are we still giving out like $5 for each one that's...
I think that we've used our money up in that space. I don't think we've got anything more that we're offering.
That'd be a good way of getting kids some pocket money, wouldn't it? Catch the birds.
Yep.
And you're going to give it to the lovely council to look after. But yeah, I think
Is there anything
I agree.
in Councillor Holzheimer and your space too on the pest? Is there anything that we could look at there?
Look, well, obviously the budget, I think, is it coming out of... at the moment, I haven't seen anything in ours for the minor bird, and obviously there's other big issues with the weed, and particularly the pigs is a real high priority at the moment. The pigs, sorry. I do apologize. You called me Councillor Hanson. No, all good. But yeah, look, I think it is something that it probably does come over different areas, but it is something that I've noticed them around town too, and they're quite devastating to our natural bird life.
I'm sure we can continue that conversation offline. Is there any other questions? Mr. Mayor?
Not a question on this one, Deputy Mayor, but Minister King has arrived. I'm in her office now, so I'm going to step out of the council meeting, leave you to finish the agenda. But I did want to just quickly raise, it's not on this agenda, but if we could discuss the council-to-council program to support our friends in Hinchinbrook and Charters Towers, which are currently, enduring a lot of flooding at the moment. So I just want to put that on the record and enjoy the rest of your day. And I'm now going to meet with Minister King. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And have a successful time out there. Okay, so is there anything else you want to add, Carly?
Just thank you for the questions, and I hope that they have inspired some people watching online to jump on and read the report later today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's something, it is a very good report for people to understand what happens in council land.
Happy to move the report. Oh, did he?
No, I'll take Councillor Churchill as a mover and Councillor Davis as a seconder. Are we all in favour?
Yeah.
Thank you. That recommendation to endorse the operational plan Q2 performance report has been carried. Yep. Now we move on to the next item, which is G5, Councillors' report. Do we have any Councillors' report? Okay, we'll move on to number 6, urgent business. There's no urgent business, no notices of motion, no confidential items. So unless there's anything else we need to do, I will declare the meeting closed at 10:05. Thank you very much.